Hi, third grade. I am looking at the Footrace Across America again today. I'm not going to reread it to you, but I hope that you've read it at least a couple times this week just to get more familiar with it. If you haven't, please read it again and think about some of the things that we can take from it. For example, let's look for a minute at why Andy loved to run. How do we know he loved to run? This paragraph starts out with that sentence, Andy loved to run. And then what should be in here should be details that support that idea. It's as if this is a main idea, and often paragraphs start out with a main idea, and then they kind of support it. It's like a tabletop being supported by legs that hold that table up. All right, so I'm looking here and I see that he loves to run. It says that after he does the chores, or after he did the chores on his family's farm, he would run 5 miles to school. He beat his brothers and sisters. So that means he didn't run because he was scared of being late. He ran because he liked to run. I just had a knack for being able to cover the ground on foot. He liked it. Boy, wouldn't that be something to be a person that just loved to run everywhere? That's not me, but that's for some people. And so he just went on as he grew up to be a runner, and he would run in track and long distance events, things like that he enjoyed doing. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. And so then I'm looking ahead on this page, and I'm seeing the discussion about the 1920s. So this happened, this event, which is an actual historic event. This is nonfiction, in the 1920s, and it says the 1920s were already known for crazy contests. And then they give examples. So here's another main idea. The 1920s were known for crazy contests, and then it gives examples, which are details. There were dance marathons, 6-day bicycle races, even people setting records for sitting on flagpoles. And so in the midst of that, along comes this man named C.C. Pyle, who decides to put this crazy running race together that asks people to run across the country. Route 66 goes from Los Angeles to Chicago. I might have misspoken earlier this week. It doesn't actually run all the way across the country, although the race went all the way to New York City and ended in New York City. So that is interesting. So Andy decides to run in this crazy race that was put out there, and he wants that prize money. Now, what kinds of people came to run in this race? People just from out west? What does it say? 200 other runners. They were from across the United States as well as from other countries such as Finland, Switzerland, Canada, Italy. They were as young as 16 all the way up to 63. So a huge age range, and people from all over the world. Crazy. People came that far, but of course the prize money was $25,000. And that was a lot of money. That was a lot of money. And so it drew people that wanted a chance to try this. So they start the race, right? And it says the first day of the race was the easiest. But then things got harder. Well, first of all, they had to go up steep hills, this Cajon Pass, and it was very hot in the desert. So when they were out west right away, they ran into heat and steep hills. And those things would definitely make the race harder, I'm sure. And then C.C. Pyle himself actually made the race harder. Now, he had promised them good meals, and soon after the race started, the meals became not so good, and they were given poor stews that weren't very good quality. He wasn't on time showing up with their tents and things, so they were having to sleep in barns and stables. So he didn't keep his word, and that definitely made it harder for them. They didn't have good food and they didn't have reliable places to sleep. So can you imagine running all day and then needing to find your own place to lay down when there was supposed to be a tent or something ready for you? Um, Not so good. Now, this subject heading or subhead, the Bunion Derby. Have you ever heard of a bunion? Kind of sounds like the word onion. What is a bunion? It says the newspapers began to call this race the Bunion Derby. Andy didn't have bunions. Oh, here it is. Bunions are swelling of the big toes. So I would imagine being on your feet so much, pounding that ground running, would cause some health issues in your feet. Bunions, their feet were swelling up. And so the race became known as the Bunion Derby. Although Andy didn't have bunions, many of the racers did. And that was a problem. All right. So the race continues. And now along the way, I believe many people dropped out. They started out with about 200 racers. We're going to near the finish line. And where are they? They started out way out on the West Coast in California. Oh, I'm sorry, this is blurry here. But they end up in New York City. So they're way out on the East Coast. And so the race is going to end in New York City. And how many racers were left at the end? They get to New York City. They're circling around and around and around. Andy Payne is now in the lead. How many people finished the race? I feel like that's an important question. And where is the answer to that? He gets the $25,000 prize, right? He wins the race. That was his dream. And then he's able to go back and help his family. But how many people finished that race? I'm looking for that answer because that's an important one for you. Hint, hint. I think it was about 50 people, wasn't it? I'm looking for the answer. You might have to look for that answer today. I'm going backwards, looking in the text. He was sick. He got tonsillitis, but he kept going. That was early in the race. Well, by March, more than half had dropped out, so we know that there were less than 100. Seems like somewhere it said they dropped down even more. You're going to have to look for that one, boys and girls, because that's going to be an important question on your test tomorrow. I'm glancing here as fast as I can. Oh, I'll bet I'm looking right at it and not seeing it. Well, that's okay. You're going to have some time to... I found it. Look at that. There it is. 55 remaining runners made it to New York City. So out of the 200, only 55 made it there. So I'm going to close out this little discussion session because I have a little puppy named Chelsea who thinks she needs some attention. Imagine that. She's been getting a lot of attention the last month or so. And so I'll give her what she needs, and I hope that you have a great day. Take care.